I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're three Black moms.
Most of us had our first job in our teens, maybe 16, 17 years old. I think there's a certain legal limit, even though you do have some people who might have a job earlier, maybe some summer camp jobs that they might offer to, say, 14-year-olds, things like that, which are really good in helping youth get a start to the working world. But some businesses kind of take advantage of that young person working. Usually they're minimum wage. And so there's not as much pressure because they don't have expenses of taking care of a family. And so some companies have kind of started hiring young people, maybe for hours or tasks that really aren't appropriate for a teenager. So as you prepare to get your teen acclimated to the work world, you have to look at what is an appropriate job for a young person. Are there certain hours they should be working? A lot of companies, maybe even fast food places, maybe they're open late into the night, maybe they're open till midnight, maybe even some grocery stores are open late. Well, if you've got a teenager and they got to be at school at 7 o'clock in the morning, is it appropriate for them to be working till midnight? Because usually when you close up at night, you've got to stay there a few extra hours, do some extra things. So even if the place closes at say 11 o'clock, is it appropriate for your child to be coming home at 12 or 1 o'clock in the morning and they're a teenager? What jobs are suitable jobs for a teenager and what jobs are really inappropriate? So, sisters, what do you think? Are there some jobs that really are more suitable for adults based on hours and tasks? What's been your experience?
Well, before I answer your question, I'm going to tell a short story about a movie I saw last night that Denzel Washington was in called Devil with a Blue Dress. Now, he's real young, but you know it's him. And the storyline is he got laid off his job. And he's a real young person. He's not a teenager, but he's probably early, mid-20s. He had come out of the military. He was able to have enough money to buy his own house in a really nice African-American neighborhood. Beautiful lawn, beautiful, beautiful setup. But then he lost his job. They laid him off and he was in danger of missing the second mortgage and he needed a job and he needed money. And some friend of his who worked at a bar said, "Oh, I have a friend who could use you to hire you." Well, he ends up getting paid a huge amount of money. He's able to pay off his mortgage and catch up on some bills and complaining that the price of bread had gone up 15 cents. But the job he was doing was illegal. So I don't want to spoil the movie for you, but the fact that he found out later that what he was doing was tying him to the mob makes this to be a very interesting story. Now, on the real set about an inappropriate job, my husband had a job that he worked only one day. It was cleaning up at a factory where they were producing asbestos. And as you know, today, that stuff's dangerous. Well, there was asbestos dust that had gotten on them and all the workers. They weren't wearing any kind of protective clothing, but my husband instinctively, I think he's like 17, he instinctively knows that this is a dangerous substance and he quit that job. That's an inappropriate job for anybody where you are not suited up and you are dealing with asbestos. And there is another job he had as a young man where he worked in this place where they were all older customers. All he was supposed to do was sweep, take out the garbage, wipe down the bar. And it was a place where they sold alcohol and he was like underage. And he probably should not have been in that situation either. His boss told him one thing you're going to learn how to do is how to swear and how to drink. Well, he ain't got no business drinking in the first place. But That was another job that he ended up quitting because the atmosphere was not suitable for a young teenage boy. Sisters?
Mm, wow. Well, a lot of places don't really care that the atmosphere is inappropriate. So, well, what do you think if they're around a lot of adults that are maybe using inappropriate language? Okay, everybody's gonna say, "Well, teenagers cuss more than anybody." Yeah, that's true, but I think if we want our children to learn a level of respect, then we have to be respectful in our speech around them. And I can't find too many adults who will agree with that because they don't want to stop cussing. But are there certain things that are inappropriate for a teenager to hear, like, certain bedroom jokes and all of that? Okay, child's 16, they might even be sexually active, but is there a such thing as inappropriate speech in the presence of someone who's younger and in an atmosphere, even if it's not a bar, but it's the kind of an atmosphere where people just don't care what they say and they don't pay attention to who's present? Is there a way to know that the workplace they're in is like that?
Well, there's a couple of things that are going on here. I mean, Barbara, with Eric, finding out that these jobs were toxic and walking out, or maybe there's some sketchy things going on with underage drinking, or all other things that are going on. That's one thing. But when our teenagers, and I'm assuming that your first, job, you're 15, 16, and like
Right.
you said, if it's not like a camp counselor or one of those jobs that are especially supposed to be for teenagers, you have to really kind of communicate with them that if there's anything sketchy going on, they do not have to stay there, because it can be something as illegal as having them lock up, or or work past the time that they're supposed to be working, not paying them for that time, because
Mhm.
wage theft is a really big thing in this country, and it's especially happens with people who are working minimum wage jobs, especially if they're undocumented or something like that. And there's a lot of wage theft that's going on. And so you have to worry about if there's that going on, if there's sketchy people, if they're asked to do something that is illegal, and if there's like a wink and a nod. And I think I would be more concerned about that than about the language that is being said, because these things can get them into trouble. They may up against people who they do not want to associate with. Also, if they're young women, sometimes you have it happens to young men too, but more likely young women who are dealing with bosses who are sexually inappropriate with them. So you have to communicate with your team. Listen, this is the job. If you're asked to do something else, if you're not being paid on the books, all of these things, you need to let me know. And if anybody is ever inappropriate with you, or you are made to feel uncomfortable, even if this is job, because a lot of us in our community, we have to have, our kids are working to help out the family, but um they cannot be put in a position where they are going to have to put up with illegal activity, inappropriate contact, touching, propositioning, things like that. So, and in this market, I mean, post COVID, which we're not yet, but post the first lockdown, there's a lot of jobs that places are hiring. A lot of service jobs people are hiring. Yes, but in that sense, because there are a lot of jobs out there, get the best job. Get the best job for you. If you're a teenager and you got to get up at 7 o'clock or be somewhere at 7 o'clock in the morning, which is, ridiculous for teenagers anyway, because that their body cycles are different. But school systems haven't caught up with that. But if they know that they have to get up, they should not be working until midnight. They should not be working until 10, 11 o'clock, and they still have to go home and do homework and then
Mhm.
get up. So we have to, what jobs are suitable? Service work is fine, but they have to be able to say, I can't work past a certain time,
Yeah.
and be willing to walk out, and you have to be willing to support them in that. And that's really hard, like I said, if your child's income is contributing to the household. I mean, we have to stop thinking that, oh, they're working because they want their own pocket money. Some kids, they're working because they
They
want their
do.
own pocket money, and some are working so that the family eats or has heat or has, or has the mortgage. But saying that, and we can't always go down there and do the scary black woman thing that we need to do for our kids, because we're working our own 2 or 3
Yeah.
jobs. But they need to learn how to stand up for themselves. You need to have the numbers of the state attorney general, the National Labor Relations Board, whoever you have to talk to about things like wage theft and things like that. And if they're in a position where they're in a job where there's dangerous things going on, you need to have them keep looking. Now they can keep looking for other jobs where they have that job, uh, but we need to give them the room to get out of um, bad situations.
Oh, definitely. And especially,
Yeah.
I mean, I mean, male children can be in danger just as much as female children. But
Absolutely, they can be.
tomorrow, I was asked to be a speaker on a program for, and I guess it's a national program that they're having in different cities. I guess this tomorrow is commemorating murdered and missing Indigenous women.
Oh,
Which there are hundreds, if not thousands.
yes.
Yes, and so I'm to be a speaker at that event tomorrow. And one of the things that we find is that young women are promised jobs, and like you say, they might be needing that money to contribute to the family. But if you don't follow up and find out, well, where are you working, who's your supervisor, who's the owner of the company, I think when a teenager, because they're underage,
Yes.
their parents still need to know everything. You still need to meet the people involved. You still need to understand, well, what work are you doing? Is this appropriate? You still need to have hands on. Yes, they're sort of adult, but they're still not. And
And they are vulnerable because of that.
yes, they can
It's
easily
easy.
end up being trafficked.
Yes.
And
Yeah,
Yes.
that happens so often.
absolutely.
They get taken away. They sometimes, cross country, they can't get back. They can't communicate because, I mean, you take their cell phone, you can't talk to anybody. All kinds of things can happen. And this is why when something doesn't sound right, you don't just let your child just go and say, oh, I'm all right, I can handle it. No, you can't, because you don't know
No,
what's
they
out there,
can't.
and you don't know what people are doing, and you get someplace and you can't get back, you can't contact anybody, your life gets threatened, you don't have a way to escape. What are you going to do? So I
Yes.
think definitely you should not just send them out, oh, get a job, and then they come back and say, I got a job, and they say I have to do some travel. Red flag. Why you got to travel and you 16?
16.
Yeah. So I'm doing my.
Or they want you to do modeling. I
Yeah.
watched
Mhm.
Hulu's it's Pen 15, which they had a couple of seasons of this show. It was actually quite good because it's the whole thing about these girls. They were in middle school, and they're played by the real life the actresses who are actually in their 30s, but they're playing them, and it's actually believable that they're these young children, really. But in the
Mhm.
second season, the last season that just ended, um, there was a point where one young girls was approached by somebody and says, "Oh, you're so beautiful. You need to be a model." Well, her mother says, "No, you're not doing this." So the other girl decides, well, we're going to just say, "I'm going to be your mother," and they leave, and they get into all kinds of trouble. And of course, the modeling agency is one of those, really sketchy places where all of a sudden this girl is in there taking pictures and she's in her underwear.
Mhm.
Well, this is the thing, because Sarah did some modeling, and I went on everything with her.
Oh
Anything
yeah,
she
that
did,
modeling thing, you gotta be
like
real
I didn't
careful.
have to be in the room, but I knew that there was a woman in the room, and they were going to show me all the stuff, and I was like,
Not necessarily a sign of safety either, because some women are in on it. So you,
yes, yes, but
Yes,
this
as
was,
we have seen.
yes,
yes, but they had the door open. So,
yeah,
and the thing is that, and when they did the shots outside, of course, I was standing right there. So, I was aware of what was going on. And that's the thing. And of course, that was probably a scam too, because they had you spend all this money to start. But anyway, and she only got a couple of jobs out of it. But the thing is that modeling is one thing that is a red flag if all of a
yeah.
sudden they have to come up with money because they're not supposed to. But there's
Mm-hmm.
other things that people will say that are quite glamorous sounding, and you just have to be willing to say, you know what, I think if I can, I'm gonna take a day off of work. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna just
Check it
check
out.
out. If it's a restaurant, go in and eat at the place. Make sure that nobody's getting handsy. There's all kinds of things
Mm-hmm.
that are suitable jobs, but you have to make sure that the people that they're working for are suitable people.
That's the thing. And about as far as that modeling situation, even if the company is so-called reputable, what they might want them to do might be inappropriate. Now, I think, well, I know Zakia was actually in college and she had been, she avid fan of America's Top Model.
Yeah, you had
So
told us about this before.
yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, so when they said to her, "Oh, there's some nudity," she was like, "Nah," because
Yeah.
I mean,
You're
a
supposed to be
lot of
modeling clothes. Why do you
yeah,
have to be
why am I taking
nude?
off clothes? We'll be modeling clothes.
Modeling, taking off clothes. Well,
Yeah.
let me tell you something foolish that I did quite innocently when I was in college. Okay, so I'm not a teenager anymore. I'm
Right.
probably 20. Well, maybe I was 19 because this happened my freshman year. So, okay, maybe I just turned 19, 18. Well, you think you're grown already anyway.
Yes.
But so I answer an ad in the newspaper. This is before Craigslist, but it's a kind of like Craigslist type thing where they were advertising for masseuses. And I had just read the book The Art of Massage. And so I thought, well, I'm good at this. My friends say I'm great. So I walk downtown. This is in Peoria, Illinois. I walk downtown, go to this place, and tell her I was applying. Tell the lady at the front desk I was applying for this job. And she says, "Oh, well, what kind of experience do you have in giving massage?" And I tell her some glorious story about me massaging all my friends, and they all feel relaxed when I'm done. And so she starts to describe the job to me. Now I'm looking around, it's got these little dark curtains in the back, and then she's telling me that, well, at this massage parlor, your duties are to massage a specific part of the male body. And then she describes that, and then I'm like, well, I didn't take that job. My roommate was like, "Oh, Barbara,
I see. I mean,
no!"
we
When
were
you
not
are young and
streetwise. We
innocent,
don't
you
know
don't even
stuff.
know what you're getting yourself into.
Well, you know what? And that's the thing is that kids these days tend to be more streetwise,
Yeah, we
but
definitely not streetwise.
but they are still kids and they still
Yes,
can get themselves into situations and not know how to get out of it
yes,
and not know how to ask for help because
yes,
they're embarrassed, they're
yes.
humiliated, and and after you've had that big fight with them about them being grown and they know what they're doing and blah 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 blah
They
blah,
won't tell
then
you.
they feel
They just-
ashamed that they
Yeah,
can go back, and that's how they get into trouble. So you say,
yeah.
listen, I
It's
don't care how embarrassed, I don't care if you have to hear I told you so or anything like that. Do not keep yourself in a bad situation. And then when they come to you, try not to say I told you so.
right,
You just
Yeah,
get
right.
on, you go, you
it
call
doesn't help if you do. They
yeah,
already know that.
you know what? You call your sisters or your friends and you say, I told them so. But do not
Don't say it to your
but
child.
or call us, but do not tell them,
Right.
because you want to keep the lines of communication open so that when your kid, and you know what, we are so much more, I mean, we're all ladies of a certain age, so we know a whole lot more than we did, and because when we were young we thought we knew everything,
Yeah.
And from the time you're like 14 to I don't know what how age until you're in your late 20s,
You know
you
everything.
think you know everything. You don't.
Mhm.
And your kids don't either. So that's
Yeah.
the thing is they will do a lot of things and they're not ready for a lot of things that happen to them because I don't care how much more sophisticated they are about the internet or social media, they are still emotionally 15, 16, 17, 18 years old and
Yeah.
they still need that protection from us. And so we need to be able to say, is this job all that it chalked up to be? Because if it's not, you can keep looking and it's okay.
Yeah.
Mm. Or if they're in a situation where they have a supervisor that is acting inappropriately, they need to be able to tell somebody if they feel uncomfortable, somebody's touching them a certain way or saying things, all kinds of stuff. Because I mean, we know it happens, the little
And
sexual.
there's a lot of grooming that happens.
Yeah.
There's
Mhm.
a lot, usually it doesn't happen all at once.
Oh
Oh,
no.
everybody's so nice and everybody's so this. And then all of a sudden, you got the one who's got to touch his, got to put his hand on the small of your back or this kind of stuff. And then it just
Or
becomes,
bump up against
or bump
you.
up against you or all other kind of stuff, or have you wear something that's inappropriate, hooters. Um, so so, you have to let your child know because a lot of times, especially our teenagers, they think they know so much and they are also exploring their own body autonomy, their own sexuality, their own feeling of attractiveness, and they use that as their entry into the adult world, but they're not really as sophisticated as they think.
And
And
even if a boss is mean, maybe not necessarily
not necessarily inappropriate,
touchy feely, but
just
just
mean
someone who is unkind, you do
or
not have
racist.
to live or
Be
work
treated
under verbal
rudely.
abuse.
Right.
Yes.
Know when you're being verbally yeah, because a lot of people don't think they have to respect teenagers and they'll say nasty things you don't say to anybody. So I think that's important. Know when somebody's out of line and like you say, let them know you can quit. Because even if the family needs the money or you need the money or whatever the case may be, you can always find a place that treats you the way you deserve to be treated. We should never condition our children to accept abuse on a job just to get a paycheck.
You know what?
And
We
and there
have
are absolute avenues if you are quitting under duress. There are avenues to follow through where you are not going to be penalized yourself for quitting a job if
Right,
you have had inappropriate behavior
right.
happen to you.
File some
and this is
papers.
the thing is that don't tell your children to just suck it up and take it because you
Oh,
know what?
Yeah.
We have as a people, we have had so much, we have over 400 years of generational trauma. We need to stop telling, yes, we are all
mhm.
resilient and all strong people, but that doesn't mean we have to keep telling our children that it's okay to be traumatized. We need to start thinking about the trauma that comes from inappropriate behavior or racist behavior or sexist or homophobic or transphobic or all kinds of other behavior from bosses, from supervisors, and tell them, you know what? You are a worthy human being and you do not deserve this and you do not have to take this
Right,
because until we start telling our children that they are worthy of the respect, they won't get it, they won't
right,
demand it, and they won't understand that they are deserving of it just by being here.
And
right.
it may not even be a boss. It might be a
It
coworker.
might be a coworker.
Mm-hmm. A lot of jobs is like that, especially when it gets real cutthroat. Maybe they're vying for a position or whatever. A lot of meanness happens.
Or they just want to uh crap on, because I won't say the other word, but they want to crap on the underling. They want to,
Yeah,
they want to show that they're not the lowest person
right.
on the food chain.
Totem pole,
And
yes.
so they, so you will find someone who may have just like been hired a week before you, all of a sudden have you doing all the crap jobs and all this other kind of stuff. You know what? Let them be the low person again and start looking. I mean, like I said, everybody's hiring now. we
Mhm.
can find jobs,
Yes.
you know.
Yes. If you
And
found
also
that one, you
when
can
you
find
take
another
those,
one.
If you found that one, you can find another
find
one.
another. And also when you take those surveys, because I notice on a lot of those department store jobs, they want you to fill out a survey. I get angry when I get stuck doing all the work, and
Mm.
you check, and I mean they have crazy questions because they're trying to sort
How
out
much you can
what
take.
kind of person you are going to be as a hireling. And they you know, and some of them are like crazy trick questions, like I'm happy if I get promoted over someone else. They're trying to figure out, are you prideful? Are you this? Are you that? I
Or
found
Mm.
you're
a
a
lot of those
sociopath.
surveys to be absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not answering. I'm just gonna say yes for everything or no for everything. Then what are they gonna do with that? So, you know, be aware of what kind of job you are applying for. Do you want to work in a place where you go in and start being treated like you're some kind of animal that doesn't
Yes.
deserve respect?
Yes. Beware that first impression. Believe
Yes,
what you see.
They're
yes,
interviewing you, you're interviewing them.
that's
Yes.
exactly right.
Right. It's like a relationship. If either of us is not happy, this relationship is not going to work.
And
So,
that's the thing is, and that they are teenagers, and your first job experience should be where you don't have to be happy because this probably isn't going to be your career, but you should feel some satisfaction, you should feel some appreciation. and
yes.
and there's so many of us in our generation and generations after who work 40, 50 years in jobs that they absolutely
Yeah.
hated,
And we're
and
treated badly.
and
And we're
we're
told that
treated
you have to take.
badly, and we're unappreciated or felt unappreciated. And you know it's a job, it's not your whole world. And no, and don't let anybody treat your job as if it's more important than your schoolwork. For instance, if
Mm,
if you got kids and
yeah.
that you have them locking up or cleaning up after hours, and they have to go to school, and you're also putting them in danger from somebody
Yes.
robbing the place,
Yeah. They have to
all kinds
take
of
a bus
things.
home.
Yes. So we need to really be careful when we encourage our children to work. And yes, they should work. Work is a great way of them learning how the world works, how to spend money, how to become, productive adults. But it doesn't mean that you have to take a lot of crap.
And
Yes. Not at
another
all.
good lesson to learn, and I learned this on my own. Also, I was still in college, and one summer I worked at a carnival that had come to town. Guess what I did? I did the robot to music that was played in front of the wax museum. I'd be real still, and then I'd start moving, and people would be like, "Oh," that kind of thing.
That's
And there were
cute.
a couple of other men that were also uh, people that were like mannequins, and then they would come alive and do the robot. Well, the carnival was moving on. I don't remember how much I made. I'm sure it looked like a lot of money back then. And the boss tries to talk me into joining the carnival. Oh, I always wanted to run away and join the circus, because I was such a good dancer. And he was telling me, he was naming these extraordinary amounts of money that I would be making. Oh, $500 a week, which was a lot of money back then. And I'm saying, well, no, I have to go back to school. And he goes, oh, this is more important than school. I think his rap would have sounded really uh uh interesting, really like
If you had
some
been a
kind
bad
of
student.
wonderful, yeah, some kind of wonderful come on to someone who's a little bit uneducated. I mean, a lot of carny people are not college graduates. I'll just say it
Right.
like that.
Right.
And so you're not working with people that this is all the money that they're able to make. And this guy was like offering me the moon, and I knew good and well I do not want to be doing the robot all my life. I got to go back to school and get my journalism degree.
This
But,
is not a career.
Yeah, and it's so funny because I just saw the movie Nightmare Alley last night. It's about carnies. It's on HBO if you get it, or Amazon Prime, and it's interesting. Let's say it's like 1930s, 40s carny, but you see that these are really, really sketchy people.
Oh yeah. Well,
And I always think about you and the carny, Barbara, that you did that for, I think, a summer or something. And they make it sound like it's very glamorous. You know, you sleep on crap, you're dealing with a lot of really sketchy people all the time.
A
And,
lot of dishonesty.
a lot of dishonesty because all these carny games are all rigged and stuff like that. So that's the thing is that sometimes somebody will offer you a lot of money to stay and not to continue. And if what it is not what you want to do, then don't stay. You
don't.
know, don't
That's the
stay.
bottom line. You don't have to be where you don't want to be. You don't have to take bad treatment. And if people are not treating you well in the beginning, that's a red flag. So,
And don't be lured by the thought that you're going to be making a lot of money, because usually
Yeah.
those things are a lie. And now let me tell you about a job I took when I first got here in Florida as a teacher. It was needed Christian teacher at a Christian school. This was on Craigslist. That should have been my first red flag.
Yeah.
One of my friends told me, "What, a teaching job on Craigslist? Why don't you just go into the teacher's website?" So took the job. Was a horrible experience. They paid me in cash. It was something different every day. They didn't pay us on time. Twice I had to go to the principal's house to get my money. And that's all I'm going to say about that.
well, beware of those jobs that pay you in cash.
Yes.
That's another red flag.
Yes.
Well, we got to go. We want to remind you to subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you can get notices whenever we go live. We'll be live at 5 and 6, 5 p.m. Central, 6 p.m. Eastern. And of course, we want you to be notified. So make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel, 3 Black Moms, and like us on Facebook, 3 Black Moms. Until next Sunday, I'm Naima.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Barbara. We are 3 Black Moms. Bye. Hi, I'm Barbara.
I'm Cheryl.
And I'm Naima. We're 3 Black Moms.
The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution. The Female Solution Global Radio TV Show invites you to an invigorating conversation with our team of hosts Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. Central Time. Start your week with Monday Morning Mindfulness with Zelda Speaks. Tuesdays, Self-Cell Care with Jody Susan. Wednesdays, Repairing Broken Families with Naima Latif and co-host Kareem Hamid. Thursdays, Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green. And Fridays, Health and Wellbeing with Beata. Saturdays, tune in 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Time. First Saturday, Success Strategies with Jana. Second Saturday, Wendy Williams Esquire on relationships. Third Saturday, Move Around with Deborah. And fourth Saturday, Wisdom with Mama D. Join us Sundays, 7 p.m. to 9 p.m. Central Time for Soul Purpose Healing with Beata. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to the host and be a part of the solution.